And back in the country, day 2 of testimony from RCMP Commissioner Brenda Lucki. The Commissioner apologized for the Mounties' failures during Nova Scotia's mass shooting in April 2020, as well as for leaving the crime scene unattended.
I'm sorry that happened. When somebody loses a life and family are needing answers to questions, I can't imagine what that would be like. And the fact that we weren't there to be able to provide that, the fact that we didn't meet the family's expectations, and there may, in fact, be all kinds of reasons, but it really doesn't matter because we didn't meet the family's expectations.
And CTV's Heidi Petracek is joining us from Halifax. Heidi, good evening. It's good to see you. This was day 2 of this hearing. An RCMP commissioner apologized to the families and Nova Scotians. What was the reaction to that apology?
Well, really, the apology you just heard that short clip of was an apology to the family of Gina Goulet, who was the last person killed by Gabriel Wortman in that horrible weekend, April 18th and 19th, 2020. In terms of apologizing to the families as a whole, what Brenda Lucki said near the end of her testimony today was that she really apologized for the force's failure to meet public expectations and that she realized that Nova Scotians' trust in the RCMP has been shattered and that will need to be earned back. Now, families in attendance and their lawyers were not convinced. They say it really needs to go beyond an apology now. It needs to go to accountability. And in fact, Brenda Lucki was hammered on that point by several lawyers throughout the day, both yesterday and today.
There was a lot of talk about the changes that we need to see in the RCMP and some changes that have already been made. What did we hear from Brenda Lucki on that front?
Well, on that front, that's where some of the families say her testimony was lacking, and their lawyers agree. Really, lawyers were pressing the fact that over a number of years, there have been several reports and inquiries that have made recommendations to the RCMP on similar themes of communications, on command structure and clarity, on the securing of crime scenes. That was one thing that came up today specifically. And they pointed to the fact that throughout all this time, these issues still seem to persist. And while Brenda Lucki said there are people tasked with working on those issues, she couldn't really speak to how much progress has been made or specifically what's been done. And when it comes to the events in Nova Scotia in 2020, again, when pressed for specifics on what is being looked at right now and what is being done and when will there be an internal review, her answers, as far as the families are concerned, came up empty on the specifics and the assurances that they're really looking for.
That's right. Families, of course, are pretty unimpressed with the answers that came out today. But let me ask you, Heidi, moving forward, what happens with this inquiry?
Well, what happens is there will still be weeks of proceedings left to go into September. We will hear from more RCMP witnesses, I am told, from headquarters and others who were involved in some of the history of this case 2 years ago. And it will make recommendations then, and they could be fairly broad regarding the RCMP and all kinds of issues as to the response to the crimes and the aftermath as well. And at the end of today's testimony, the head commissioner, Michael McDonald, really made a plea to Brenda Lucki to become a champion for these recommendations, to make sure that they happen, because he said they did not want the deaths of those who were killed, the 22 people, including a pregnant mother, to really be in vain. And that is what it's going to come down to, is can the RCMP and its culture go through the type of change that will be recognized by the families and Canadians.
That's right. Clearly a lot of work that needs to be done. CTV's Heidi Petracek in Halifax. Appreciate the update, Heidi. Thank you.
You're welcome.